So you know that feeling when your skin is glowing and you know you look good, and it just brings out your inner confidence? There is nothing like it. Thankfully, Silver Mirror Facial Bar can help summon that feeling on command. They use the latest technologies, top-tier products, and seriously skilled estheticians to develop a custom plan just for you. Book your appointment today and get $30 off your first facial with the code CityCast30. Just go to silvermirror.com/CityCast and tell them we sent you by using code CityCast30.
DC cares about being green, but it feels like there is always something new to learn. How do I know what can and can't go in the recycling? And how do I collect compost without it stinking up my whole house? The list goes on. Thankfully, Paint Care makes responsibly recycling your leftover paint easy. Paint Care has 3 simple rules for painting smarter and reducing waste. 1. Buy the right amount of paint for the job. 2. Use up what's left. And 3. Recycle the rest. To learn more or find a paint drop-off site near you, visit paintcare.org/3simplerules. That's paintcare.org/3simplerules.
Today on CityCast DC, Memorial Day is right around the corner, and for me, that's the unofficial kickoff to summer travel season. But if you're watching your budget but still dreaming of that summer getaway, don't worry. CityCast contributor Tim Ebner has rounded up the best summer trips you can take from DC for around $150. Today's Tuesday, May 20th. I'm Bridget Todd, and here's what DC is talking about. Tim, thank you so much for coming back and hanging out with us. I'm so excited to talk.
Thanks for having me, Bridget.
So when you told us about this idea, I was a little skeptical. Summer trips nearby, under $150. DC is not a cheap place to live, and I feel like most of the well-known spots to get away nearby are also quite expensive. So I'm happy that you put together this list. But first, I want to know, was this difficult to do?
Yes. Oh my goodness. You gave me quite a challenge. $150 surely doesn't go a long way these days. And I think what's interesting is travel costs, especially since 2020 and after the pandemic, have really skyrocketed. So a lot of people are traveling. Summertime is a very popular time to travel. So yes, you could always expect high costs, but there are really some budget-friendly trips to be found around the DMV. And so I was really happy to have a couple of different options for listeners, especially if you have a wide range of needs or budget. There's really a trip for you in this series.
So I would imagine that a lot of the best kind of affordable spots probably are outdoor things. That's why I like the outdoors, is because it's a little bit more budget friendly. Am I right in that assumption?
Yeah, the great outdoors is really the way to save. Not everyone, though, is always a camper. So this is really the challenge. It's you can save a lot of money if you're an outdoorsy type person. And one of the ways I think that you could go about creating your own summer vacation on a budget here is going to a campsite that's really close by to Washington, D.C. I like to tell people did you know there's actually a campsite along the Beltway? And it's just north of D.C. in College Park, Maryland, which means it's metro accessible. It's called Cherry Hill Park, which is a great camping spot if you've never done camping before. I also find that it's affordable, family-friendly, and it's perfect for any kind of camper, whether you like the great outdoors or maybe you want some air-conditioned space. So the standard rate for a campsite there, it's $92. So it's well below our budget of $150. And that comes with room for your car, if you bring a car, 2 tents, and up to 6 people on the site, plus hookups to electricity and free streaming Wi-Fi. So,
wow.
If you're not a camper, you can still have access to some of those, friendlier comforts. But this is also camping that's, has those outdoor essentials like the picnic table, the fire ring. You obviously have to bring your own wood and they supply it on site, but there are nearby wash stations and bathhouses. So I like to call this easygoing camping. And what's really cool is it's in the woods in Prince George's County. So you really don't feel like you're in anywhere near Washington, D.C. And if you're someone who doesn't really like camping at all, you can do a little bit of a luxury upgrade. So this is where we go a little bit beyond the budget. So for $195, a little bit of a splurge, you can actually get a glamping pod. So these are air-conditioned, kind of like wood-framed, A-framed cabins, and they're really cute. Great for couples. And it can really come in clutch when it's a rainy day or it's one of those, soggy, wet days. So kind of a camping experience for anyone. And truly, it's great because this campsite comes with resort amenities, mini golf, 2 heated solar pools, a cafe that serves, burgers, ice cream, diner style breakfast, so you don't have to cook. And the best part about it all is they can deliver it right to your campsite.
Wow, this actually sounds perfect for me. And I'm sure folks listening are like, why would you want Wi-Fi when you're camping? You're trying to get out in nature. If you've got little ones, having an iPad or a phone with Wi-Fi might be something that you might want to plan to have if you're camping with little ones. I'll just say that. I've learned that recently.
And with camping, usually with my camping experiences, something goes wrong. So having a connection point to a phone or some Wi-Fi, say, to stream a movie outdoors is a really fun way to embrace the outdoors, but also have some comforts from home.
Definitely. I love that you're thinking about this in a budget-friendly way, but something that's interesting to me about camping is that there is no end to how many different tents or backpacks or this or that that you can buy. So it's budget friendly up into a point. If you're like me, your car is full of crap when you go camping.
This is true. And kind of the beauty of this campsite, specifically Cherry Hill Park, is that if you're new to camping, you don't even have to have a tent necessarily. You can try one of their yurts or glamping pods to just try it out for the first time. Like I said, they make all the food on site at their cafe, so you can not have to worry about some of the supplies and gear. I call this like camping light, and it's a really awesome experience because there's so many other activities. They also have a free shuttle that gets you downtown into DC. So if you want to do some museums and monuments, you can go do that and feel like you're, a tourist, but then it gets you right back up to the campsite. So it really is one of the more accessible options when you're talking about camping.
That is awesome. They've really thought about everything.
Totally. And, there's some other great hiking and biking options if you can't get away for the night and you just want to do something budget friendly for the day. I like to point people over to the C&O Canal. It really is this multi-mile trail that goes all the way into Western Maryland, into the Allegheny Mountains. There are so many different hike spots off of the C&O Canal, whether you're starting right near here with the Billy Goat Trail, just in Potomac, Maryland, or if you're going all the way up to Harper's Ferry with the Maryland Heights Trail. So if you only have a day, what I love about the C&O Canal too is this is a spot where you could bike your way to that destination. The bike path on the towpath is really friendly. You could also find many different convenient spots to drive and park your car for the day to do a quick hike out and back kind of experience.
After the Fact, a podcast by Pew, keeps it real with data-driven insights on today's big issues. No spin, just facts, mixed with stories from experts, policymakers, and people making a difference. Whether you're into the research or the personal stories behind it, we've got you covered. So what are you waiting for? Listen to After the Fact wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're a CityCast superfan, you have definitely heard us singing the praises of our longtime supporter, Paulson & Nace. Big news! Paulson & Nace is now Nace Law Group. Same great team, just with a new name. When you are hurt by the negligence of others, you want a lawyer that will actually fight for you, not one that will settle for the bare minimum. Nace's compassionate lawyers fight to bring cases to juries so you can get everything you deserve. If you've been hurt or lost a loved one because of someone else's mistake or negligence, call Nace Law Group for a no-obligation consultation. Visit www.washingtondcinjurylawyers.com or call 202-463-1999. So that really covers our outdoor girlies like myself. But what if you are a certified indoors person? Maybe you want some history, some art. You're not trying to sleep outside. What do you got?
Totally. Yeah. No, not everyone is made for the great outdoors. And here's something that I found super unique to DC. And this is in Washington, D.C., in the Brookland neighborhood. Let's say you've had a really tough week at work, or you've really just been going through it lately. There is a little known abbey called the St. Anselm Abbey, which is part of the Franciscan monastery. It has a beautiful garden. I'm sure many listeners have probably visited the gardens, but they offer an opportunity to do a silent retreat. Now, this is obviously, the Franciscans, which is an order of like the Catholic Church. It's not a faith-based experience. They welcome people of all faiths or no faiths. The beauty of this is they offer you room and board for a night for free if you want. It's kind of a pay-as-you-go, so you can also donate some money to the facilities. But what's so cool is it is in the middle of a monastery with monks where you're supposed to not talk, not have access to a phone, not have access to digital devices, and really just reflect on life and be in the moment. And the coolest thing about this experience is the monastery is located on multi-acred land where it's within the woods and you're in the middle, again, in Washington, D.C., but you really have this experience to reflect on your life and also maybe say read a book if you just want to read a book, but really it's a choose your own adventure. The beauty of this too is that this experience comes with the opportunity to engage with the monastery. So you can actually go into the monastery, see the chapel or experience what their life is, eat with them. So really, truly something that I feel like a lot of Washingtonians don't know exists. To go ahead and do this experience, you do have to register online. So you would want to go to saintanselms.org/guests to register for the free experience. Now, let's say you have a little bit of money. So for $120, they also offer what I call like this upgraded Hermitage kind of camper. It's basically like an Airbnb for one person. Again, the whole idea is a silent retreat. So they'll take your phone, they'll take your digital devices. But in this experience, for the $120 a night, you actually get access to an air-conditioned room with a bed, with a kitchenette, with a little bit more added on features, a deck where you can sit and like see trees. So this is really like a getaway and kind of self-reflect, touch grass, but also like maybe, try to look and see if you have a good book or something that you want to do that requires no distractions. This is absolutely the vacation for you.
Wow. As somebody who yaps for a living, this is something that I think that I need in my life. Just some place where you can go and experience a little bit of quiet, a little bit of peace, a little bit of stillness and silence.
I've done the silent retreat too. It's really cool. Like I said, you don't have to come from a faith background to do this. And what's really cool too is this is a very historic site that you're experiencing. It feels otherworldly. It feels like you're not in, the middle of Washington, D.C. And there's also a working farm nearby. So they grow tomatoes in the summertime and they actually can those tomatoes for use at DC Central Kitchen. So there's some really cool features that you might find and discover as you experience this. And what I love so much is that whether you have $0 or say $120, it gives you the option to try an experience that I think you wouldn't otherwise experience.
What was the silent retreat like when you did it?
Truly, you attune to stillness and your surroundings. I think it's a good opportunity to also journal. I like to journal from time to time and just self-reflect on life and goals that I have achieved or things that I'd like to do in the future. So there is some structure you can put to it. But what I'll say is the stillness and the silence, I think helps bring in focus. And I think when we think about vacation, we always think about like go, 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 do, have a huge plan or a list. I more so now have found enjoying myself on experiences and vacations where you're off the grid, where you don't have your digital device, you're not scrolling, you're not really talking much, but maybe you're like digging into a good book or just experiencing surroundings nearby you. It really helps you, especially in this day and age, find, I think, greater connection to the world. And so strongly recommend people looking this one up. You do have to register in advance. You do have to find time slots that fit to your schedule. But again, we're talking about a free to very low pay experience for a vacation that's inside Washington, D.C.
And how do you register for this again?
So guests will want to go to saintanselms.org/guests to register for the free experience. Or if they would like to do the more upgraded $120 a night version, they can go to myfranciscan.org/visit. And that's where they'll be able to book the actual Hermitage site, which has all of the air-conditioned and kitchenette features that come with like a house.
I really think of vacations as a way to experience things that you're not necessarily going to experience at home. What do you look for personally when you're judging if a spot nearby is like actually worth a visit?
That is exactly how I look at vacations too, Bridget. Like my rule of thumb is, does this trip feel transportive, and transportive in a way where it's built around experience and connection to others? So for me, even just staying in Washington, D.C. and putting myself in a place that is somewhere different from where I live, it really exposes me to new opportunities, ideas, experiences. And I think you meet people along the way in those trips. So if there's something that you might feel uncomfortable with, hanging out with a bunch of monks in a monastery, why not give it a try and see? You might actually come away with it with a very profound experience. And, those are always the things I'm searching for as a traveler, whether it's around the world or it's in my own backyard.
Well, how do you balance exactly that, like being able to do something that it might be a transportive experience with cost, like budget?
And this is where, great question. This is where I think like museums really help serve a purpose, because so much of our great museums we have in Washington, D.C. connect to the world, connect to other places, help feed that desire to travel. And we're so fortunate to have the Smithsonian museums with absolutely free admission, as well as many other museums that offer very low cost or free admission for DC residents. So kind of 3 different museums that I'm going to be visiting this summer that take me to other places around the world. First, it's the National Bonsai Museum, which is at the National Arboretum. Yes, I know, the Bonsai Museum. This is like going into Japan, like literally going into Kyoto, feeling as if you're in the middle of a Zen garden. You can learn a lot about Asian histories, Chinese, Japanese, but there's also a lot to learn around just the craft and artistry of bonsai. So that's definitely one that I'll be visiting this summer. 2 others, though, that I love and I still have yet to visit. The first is the Rubel Museum, which is a new art museum in Southwest Washington. They have free admission for DC residents. So that's, another freebie option here. And this is a sleeper hit for museums for me. This is a Smithsonian museum that I feel like doesn't get a lot of love, but it is so engaging and so interactive. And that's the Post Office Museum.
Yeah.
It's over by Union Station. And like, you wouldn't think like postal service, not exactly going to be that fun, but there's a lot of cool planes and trains and automobiles from the Postal Service, but really fun exhibits like the history of baseball and, just a whole room about stamp collecting. Super engaging, great for kids, and never as crowded as those bigger museums like the Air and Space or the History Museum.
Yeah, and it's also just like a beautiful space. I went to a ceremony there once, and it's just like, you would not think that it's as cool of a space as it is, but it really is.
Exactly. And I think museums bring that factor of taking you from the place where you are used to and getting you into cultures, other countries, other ways of living, and just transporting you to a place around the world. So if you don't have the budget to say, fly to Japan this summer, maybe visit the National Bonsai Museum in the Arboretum, and that could be your next best bet.
If you've never visited the Folger Shakespeare Theater, now is the time. It's showing the Shakespearean classic Twelfth Night, but with a groundbreaking modern twist that brings pure joy. This is not the Shakespeare that you fell asleep reading in 10th grade. It is a contemporary, sexy production of Shakespeare's great comedy. Sure, there's loss, love, and identity, but there's also a sense of discovery, lavish costumes, and great modern music. The director used the term elegant kink while describing it to me, so you already know you're in for a ride. Think She's the Man meets RuPaul's Drag Race. Performances start on May 13th and run through June 22nd, and tickets are going fast. Don't wait. Go to folger.edu/12th night to purchase tickets. That's folger.edu/1, 2, TH night.
Are you still quoting 30-year-old movies? Have you said cool beans in the past 90 days? Do you think Discover isn't widely accepted? If this sounds like you, you're stuck in the past. Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. And every time you make a purchase with your card, you automatically earn cash back. Welcome to the now. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/credit card, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Okay, I think this might be the hardest category to keep it in the budget parameters. What if you truly just want to relax and do absolutely nothing in a pretty place?
You're speaking my like language here. Like this is me to a T. I like to say that I have champagne tastes, but not the checkbooks to write it.
Champagne taste on a beer budget. That's me.
Exactly. And so this idea for our listeners, I think, is a really special one because it is what I like to call your bougie day trip to Baltimore. And this is, kind of picking up on a trend that I've seen recently with out and back travel. I think what you've seen maybe perhaps on Instagram is out and back trips typically involve someone like getting on an airplane like at 5 a.m. in the morning, going to some faraway city, doing a whole day's worth of travel in 24 hours, and then getting back on the flight before midnight. That to me is a little panic inducing. I like to not depend on the airlines to be on time all the time because I know they can't be. So this out and back trip's a little bit easier. It's really taking the Amtrak train an hour north or the MARC train, which only costs $8 to $10 one way, depending on when you book it. And if you're going up to Baltimore, I have to say the most splurge-worthy, beautiful place you could possibly stay is the Four Seasons Hotel. Obviously, with $150, we're not staying at the Four Seasons Hotel on this trip. But a little known trick to the Four Seasons is they welcome guests for the day if you're just visiting to use their pool. So from Mondays, yeah, right?
Tim, you don't understand. I have been sometimes when I'm tipsy, I will just search, let's just see how much it is for tonight. If I have been trying to get into that pool. It's the most beautiful pool. I have wanted to go to that pool since that hotel has been there. I did not know that you could just go as a guest.
This is your White Lotus adventure, Bridget. Okay,
yes,
are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Lay it on me.
This summer, if you wanted to go visit the Four Seasons, they have poolside cabanas, which you can rent for half a day. And those are from Mondays to Wednesdays. So obviously you have to go during the week, but the price to rent for that full day is only $350. So if you think about going with a friend or two friends, you can easily cut down that cost to each of you pay $100 or each of you pay $130 to split costs. But then basically you have a day-long pool party at the Four Seasons. And what that comes with, I'll tell you, massive outdoor couches and loungers, hot tubs, infinity pools. There's an adults-only area. Your fridge at your cabana is stocked with soft drinks and water for the day, plus, sunscreen, aloe. And the thing I love most about the Four Seasons is about every other hour, they'll come around with a little snack on a tray. And it is just so indulgent, but maybe it's a frozen smoothie, and then maybe it's some avocados sliced finely. It's just really a treat to be thinking that you can have this champagne taste on a beer budget, like you said. And I think a lot of guests probably expect that you would have to pay or stay at the Four Seasons to get that experience, but really you can do it on a much smaller budget.
Tim, I'm not kidding when I say you have just changed my life, because literally it's also I can't oversell this pool. It's got to be the nicest looking pool in the area. It's an infinity pool overlooking the water.
Yes.
If you think do a Google image search for it, listeners. It is that nice of a pool.
You're looking at the inner harbor of Baltimore. It truly is just in the middle of the city with all of the surrounding skyline. I can't think of a more beautiful place to spend a day, and especially a laid back pool day. The other cool thing I'll tune listeners into is this summer they host a dining series, which is really cool, where once a month they'll have a guest chef come and you actually get to put your feet in the water as you eat. So they literally put tables in the shallow end of the pool, and you can put your feet in the water as you sit and have this marvelous dinner overlooking the sunset of Baltimore. That, like I said, that summer series happens once a month throughout the summer. The price for that dinner ticket, it's $195 per person. So again, we're a little bit over budget here. Don't hold me to the $150, but for what you're getting, it really is just kind of an incredible experience end to end.
Tim, how do you find these places? What's your methodology?
That is always a question people ask me. And I think a lot of people these days are turning to technology, things like ChatGPT, to ask about plan me a trip or put together an itinerary to this place. I've done that just to see like what the outputs are of technology. And I'll tell you, like, it's not quite there yet. So I like to stay curious as I travel. I do a lot of reading. I love reading like travel magazines, obviously, but then I also enjoy, in the process of traveling, asking people for their recommendations. So if I'm in Baltimore and I'm just arriving for the first day, I'll typically like go get a drink at a bar or at a restaurant around the corner. And I'll like ask the person like, hey, like, where are cool places to go if like I'm here for the weekend? Or like, is there something in town that I should check out before I leave on Sunday? You'll actually get some great recommendations that way. And, you know, I think as you go along the way and travel, there's always like that urge inside of you to plan, and put so much effort into maximizing your experience. But I've learned over time that if you literally add some room for spontaneity and just like make some opportunities to pivot and change in your itinerary, it can really help bring the experience up several notches. And it's just because people who you meet along the way can change how the travel experience goes. And so I very much am encouraging listeners here, if you can, add some spontaneity to your trip, your next trip. I'm sure you'll find some new experience that will come from it as well.
The last time I was in Baltimore, I was staying at I know it's a hotel that you like, the Ulysses.
Yes.
And I was having dinner there, and we were talking about like what we were planning on doing. And this guy sitting next to us was like, you need to go to this address. They're having a party tonight. You're going to love it. And I remember I was like, oh, we have to go. We take an Uber there. It looks like we're walking into a dark alley. I'm thinking, well, certainly we have been set up to be like jumped and mugged, right? It was the most incredible rave that I've ever been to. I would have never known it was there. And it was like the most fun party I've probably been to in many years. When we were there till like 4 a.m. And had I not listened to this like random stranger at dinner making this recommendation, I would have never found it. A night that ended up being one of my top 5 like nights out probably of all time was just because a rando suggested it.
There you go. Exactly. And I think like that's the beauty of travel is you are exposed to new people, places, and experiences. And that openness to trying things is really the magic of it.
So what's your absolute favorite way to spend a summer day near DC?
Yeah, you know, right now, what I'm actually doing is kind of building out my bucket list of things I want to do this summer in DC. And there's always those kind of familiar things that I feel like listeners have on their list too, probably the backyard grill outs with friends, the pool party with a friend that has the rooftop pool, of course. I'm actually this summer, what I'm thinking about more is experience-driven travel and things that I think are unique to our area. So I'll certainly be visiting the Chesapeake Bay to go to one of the crab houses and pick crabs. That's always a must-do for my summer. But I'm going to try to visit a couple of different museums I haven't been to yet, as well as just finding ways to stay cool, because I think DC gets so hot and muggy. So I'll be, obviously, if you want to find me, I'll probably be at Yards Park at the wading pool this summer, reading a book, or, probably one of the dozens of outdoor pools DC has. There's also just so many new things that I think DC adds to its parks every year, including pickleball courts, which are all over the city now, and I'm trying to learn pickleball, so that's on my summer list. But also, like East Potomac Park, the golf course there now has a free miniature golf course. So like that's something new and cool you can do for one of your summer nights. So I think just keep a lookout for like what's around and what's going on. And obviously CityCast DC is one of the best places I turn to for recommendations as well.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Tim. And may we all have like sparkling rooftop pools in our future.
Thank you. Yes, I hope so too.
That's all for today here on CityCast DC. If you enjoyed the show, share it with your travel buddy for this summer. We'll be back tomorrow morning with even more news from around the city. Talk to you then.